Exclamation, everybody, and welcome back to Cube Ramblings. For me, it is Saturday night, May the 30th, 2015. Hope everybody's had an excellent week. I certainly have been having an interesting week. Not much going on, just, trying to recover and just, get back in the swing of things after having a vacation there for a bit. Haven't been doing much as far as new games, unfortunately, this week. I did play, as you saw on my YouTube channel, I did play Nomad Fleet. It's an interesting game. It's an interesting little demo that I played. Keeping my eye on it. I did also manage to play, just for a little bit here, I finally got a look at, what was it called? I'm gonna have to try to remember what the name of it was, because I didn't actually write this one down, unfortunately. Distant Star Revenant Fleet, which I've had in my inventory for a while here. I've had on Steam for quite some time. I don't know. I think the game is released. I'm not even sure right now. It might still be in early access. I can't remember. I was just taking a look at it. It's been, like I said, in my Steam library for a while now, and I just wanted to see what it was all about. And it's basically it's obviously sci-fi, but it's a real-time strategy, top-down, spaceship game, with elements of FTL in it. So it's got the rogue-like elements in it, or roguelite, whatever you want to call them, elements in it. And essentially you have a fleet that's you can have up to, whereas FTL you were just a lone ship. And this one you have a fleet of up to 5 ships, and they can all the ships are different classes that you can, and you have to purchase them, based upon what do you have, the prestige and whatnot that you've picked up along the way, and the money, whatever they're calling it, along the way as you're hunting for things. And the idea is that you are, there's an alien race that is taking over all your stuff, all the stuff from your race, and you're trying to fight them back. And along the way, you do the jumps. It has a bunch of sectors with a whole bunch of nodes in them that you jump around to. And at each node, there's some sort of encounter, or a random encounter of some point. And then there's quests, just like in FTL. Except the one quest I got through my little early playthrough here was it actually was multi-part instead of just one part. Normally in FTL it's just go to one place. There's a quest and it's like, oh, just go to this one place and you'll get the quest and all that stuff. This one was actually I encountered the quest randomly in a node, and then it said, okay, go to this one node that I hadn't visited yet. So I went there. And then it turned into a sort of captured a flag type of game at that point, where it was, you're still, still top down, you're still doing all your tactics and all, well, not tactics, but all the, RTS stuff. And what you had to do was fly near these 3 asteroid mining stations. And you had to stay within a certain radius of them and capture them. And you had to capture all 3 while still fighting off all these enemies. And then the idea was that was, you had taken on these refugees and you were trying to get them a home, since their home had been destroyed by the invading aliens. And you get there, you do that, and they find out, the invading aliens went and released radioactive waste, into these asteroids. So the mining bases are no longer suitable for life. So you have to then take them to another node further along in the sector, that actually had had a colony that was already being established that they were able to get to, and you had to just defend their colony for a couple minutes, and then you were good to go. And then I eventually made, then some nodes are, ahead of time, like, oh, there's a supply node here or whatever, a shop here. But then you get to the exit node, you jump out, and then you go, and then you select which sector you want to go to, much like FTL in that regard. The interesting thing about it is, obviously you're doing it, it's a real-time strategy, so it's top-down. You're not managing your crew, you're just managing your ships. It's got RPG elements in it, so all the ships level up as they succeed. And in addition to that, your ships, when their health is completely depleted, which is usually both shields and armor, they are disabled, and you can assuming that you get through that node's encounter, right, you will recover the ship, but the ship will have a what do they call it? They call it critical damage, right? And the idea there is, you'll start the next node with full health and shields and armor, but you'll have a negative effect. So I think one of the ones that I was seeing a lot of was my ships. The negative effect for my ships was they would jump in. Whenever they jumped into a node, they wouldn't have any energy, so you have to wait for their energy to spin up before you could use energy-based weapons instead of the ballistic weapons. So you have to manage it a little bit differently. But then along the way, you can encounter, repair stations and whatnot, where you can buy repairs and repair one critical damage on one ship as you're doing it. It just takes one down, and each ship can get up to, I think, 5 nodes of critical damage on it. And then after that, you run the risk that your ship will just completely be destroyed and not recoverable the next time you lose it. So it's an interesting little mechanics there. I'm still trying to get used to it. I think it looks like something I could do a video on. Like I said, I don't know if it's been released yet or not, or if it's still early access. I couldn't tell you at the moment because I don't have all the details in front of me, but it was I was having a little bit of fun with it. It was good. I like it's kind of, you don't really have, I was going to say like the homeworld mechanics, but you don't really have homeworld mechanics in it because you don't build ships along the way. You just buy them whenever you can, and you upgrade them with upgrades, and then they get experience points, which then helps them to improve better. Like at one point, 2 of my 4 ships in my fleet leveled up, and I was able to then give them perks based on what was there. So the one, based on class, they have different class perks. The assault one, which I think is the one you start out with, like one of the perks was I think it was increased shield efficiency or increased energy efficiency, where you regen energy faster, things of that nature. There was one for, I think the gunship had one where it was you would get regenerating armor, which you don't normally have. Normally your armor goes down and then that's it. It doesn't regenerate until the next node, I think, that you go into, until you do the jump. But prior to doing the jump, while you're still inside a particular node, your armor does not usually replenish. But in this case, one of the level ups for that particular class, I think it was to have regenerating armor. So it's cool little things like that. I haven't really gotten into the story of it yet. It just seems like, from the little that I've played, I played through just one sector right now. It feels like the story is just kind of just there as a premise. You know what I mean? It's there just to give the game meaning, but it's not going to have you on the edge of your seat or anything like that. It's not, incredibly compelling, at least from what I've seen already. And honestly, sometimes that's all you need. Like FTL, that's all FTL needed. It didn't really need a huge backstory, right? It just needed to be able to give you enough of a thread to say, okay, this is my overarching mission. This is what I'm trying to do. This is where I'm trying to go. This is what this is the path and why I'm on the path, basically. In this one, it's instead of having a fleet chasing you around, you're just trying to gather up your own fleet. You're trying to jump to nodes that have your fleet in it. And then eventually, I think at the very, very end, you're supposed to be doing a strike against the enemy. Along the way, you've got like nodes and systems that are controlled by your people, and then you've got sort of frontline nodes and things that are under contesting, and so on and so forth, until you finally get into the enemy encampment and have to do what you got to do. You're basically trying to push them out of your space, of your race's space, and it's just a series of nodes as you do it. So it looks like a really interesting concept. Again, I have to play some more of it just wrap my head around some things in it. But so far, so good. The one minor complaint I've had so far is that you do use the number keys to like switch between your ships, but if you have all your ships selected, you can't like unselect them from the number keys per se. You have to actually click on them on the screen. It's not usually that big a deal. It's just something that I thought was kind of weird. But and then all your ships have like special, as you can outfit them with weapons and special weapons and all that stuff. So, I had the one ship that had like these massive torpedoes that you could fire off, and energy torpedoes that would do a whole lot of damage to the unshielded ships. And so, you hit Q when you're on that ship, and it'll do that. And like I said, it's got some interesting ideas in it. I just have to play it a little bit more. I haven't quite figured out exactly what the game is or what it's doing. Right? It's I've kind of figured it out, but I'm trying to see what the new twist is, if there is a new twist. Sometimes games don't have to have a new twist. They can just be, similar to other games. It's just that nobody usually wants to play a game that's exactly like another game unless it was that other game that it's emulating was so fantastic that it couldn't be topped. Even then, it's like if you're emulating something that's that fantastic, there's probably still room for improvement and changing some mechanics and trying something new. But that said, I mean, a lot of people just you start out somewhere, and you want to make a game that's fun for you to play, in addition to hopefully also fun for others to play. So I can see where they're coming from with that. And so that was, I was talking about that. There is not a whole lot of actual news this week. I think everything's sort of on hold for the E3 conference, which I think is on June 16th, I believe, to the 18th. So it feels like we're in that sort of lull right before E3 where everybody's keeping their cards pretty close to their chests, and there's not a whole lot of actual news coming out around gaming until E3, and then everything will get revealed at E3, and then there'll be a whole lots of follow-ups on things and so on and so forth. But I do have a few things here to talk about. So, first thing on my list here, Game of Thrones Episode 4, Sons of Winter. I'll link you to Destructoid. They've done a review of it. I played it last week. I played it on Wednesday, I believe. Straight through 2 hours. I actually finished rendering all the episodes of that. So that will be going up consecutively on my channel. It'll be 4 episodes, as per usual. And I enjoyed it for the most part. I feel like as far as all the episodes have gone so far, this one was the more interesting of the episodes on the whole. I mean, episode 1 was very interesting too. But this one gives you, it actually makes you feel like you're an actual player in a game and participating with stuff instead of just being like, well, I'm just a glorified stick shift, right? I'm just selecting dialogue options here and there. This one actually helps out a little bit with that. There's a point at the end, and I'll try not to spoil too much here, but there's a point at the end where one of the characters becomes sort of a sneaky ninja and is running around like sniping people off and just like generally being an awesome silent killer. And that was a hell of a lot of fun. That was the standout for me of the whole episode, was the very end when you get to do that. As always, there's hit or miss things. The stuff in the north is still kind of hit or miss. It's actually a little bit more interesting this time around because there's actually plot related stuff going on. It's not just a drone. But if there was a weak part of it, it would be, I think personally, the King's Landing scenes. On the one hand, I can see how people can say like, oh, well, that was a really good one because there was so much, dialogue, and there was so much, choice, and you could see people, actually manipulating other people and so on and so forth. But I'll be honest, and I even say this in the video, it's a bit over my head. I'll be honest. Some of the stuff that goes on in King's Landing, it's very, very subtle political brinksmanship. And while I can appreciate that as a storytelling thing, there were times when I was like, you know what? None of these options actually make any bit of sense. Like, why am I talking to this person? Why do I have to talk to them again? Why is this, what are these options that you're giving me? Why are they so crappy? And it's just like, there are some points. In fact, there are points in the game. There's actually 2 points in the game where I literally did not give an answer. Like, I just, for every answer that you can give in the game, there's always the non-answer. There's always the ... the ellipsis. And there were 2 points in the game where I looked at all the options like, there is no option here that makes any bit of sense. Like, none. And so that's when I said, oh, okay, let's not say anything. And then the game just kind of, it's weird because the game sort of, even though it's built into the game sort of hiccups a little bit. Like, it breaks up the pace a little bit when you do that, where for like a minute or two, the characters are just kind of staring blankly at you, waiting for a, some sort of response. And it's like, oh, okay, this is some awkward silence here, so let's move on. Let's move on with my dialogue. And that seems to happen whenever you do that, which I guess is realistic because, oh, excuse me there. I had to mute the mic for a second because I had to yawn. Sorry about that. If you do something like that in real life where someone's expecting an answer and you're not giving one, there would be that awkward silence there. So it's kind of realistic from that perspective, but then it really breaks up the pace. Like, it's like the game is, it's like the way the dialogue is set up, it's always expecting some sort of response from, two people and not somebody just sort of dominating a conversation. And so when you skip saying anything, it's like, okay, this is especially awkward now. But some of the choices, you just can't tell. They all look the same. It's like, oh, why am I saying anything? Let's not say anything. So that said, still I enjoyed my romp in Game of Thrones episode 4. It is a bit depressing at the end. It's a bit depressing as you do it. This episode wasn't as depressing as some of the others, but it's episode 4 of 6, right? So there's still a lot of I guess Game of Thrones meat left on the bone, where there's still a lot of shitty stuff that's going to happen. And even though, and it stands in stark contrast, right? Because for most of the episode, you're actually making some pretty positive things, some strides. And then it's like, no, we got to remind you that this is Game of Thrones, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. It's just, overall, it makes me feel kind of weird about the episode, because it's like, oh, I like it. There was some more action in there. The pace picked up a bit. The only boring part for me was the King's Landing stuff. But thankfully that was done relatively quickly. You get through that pretty fast. There was a genuine game over screen at some point, which you'll get to see, which was pretty funny. I sort of figured it was going to be that way, because I was like, I just want to try this, because this has to happen. I have to see how this plays out, even though I kind of know what it's going to do. And it was a game over, but I felt the need. I felt the need to do it. So that is Game of Thrones episode 4. I will be doing what I normally do. Like I said, I'll be releasing them consecutively 4 days in a row, starting actually today after Cube Ramblings here. I don't have any Void Expanse recorded, so there won't be Void Expanse at 2:30. Instead, it will be Game of Thrones at 6 p.m. I'm going to just have that in the same spot every day, so that'll be the 6 p.m. Eastern Time slot for the next 4 days. So there's 4 episodes of that, and then we're done with the daily stuff for a little while, as far as I know, unless Tales from the Borderlands or something else comes out that works the same way. So some more news. Terraria 1.3, I believe, has gotten a release date now. It is going to be coming out June the 30th. And it's a big one. I mean, the Terraria guys, Redigit tends to be pretty epic when it comes to the updates to Terraria. Terraria 1.2 was a very big update. Terraria 1.1 was just, I think, mostly bug fixes. But 1.2 was a huge, update after the release. And 1.3 looks like it's going to be an equally, maybe not equally large, but it's a fairly large one. I went out to the Terraria wiki on Gamepedia just to see what has been announced so far for 1.3. And of course, this is, full disclosure, this is just a wiki page, so who knows how accurate this is. There are sub bullets that point to things that said that this is what's going to be in there, what's not going to be in there. But until something's actually fully released, nobody's really going to know what the full changelog is going to be. But for 1.3, they're saying Mac and Linux support, a lunar event, which will be included in addition to all the other events that happen, Martian Madness event. Obviously, there's going to be some interaction with other planets, and I think Mars and possibly a moon thing, but I think they list that later on here. Expert game mode, identical enemies and bosses with a new, more difficult AIs and increased drops. At least 250 new items, bringing the total item count to over 3,000. New mini biomes. I kind of want to click on that to see what it says, but I don't want to navigate away from this page. Some more achievements, enchanted sword shrine, and some unknown stuff. Some specific items here. There's going to be a laser ruler accessory, Meow Mirror, A sword that fires cat projectiles that leave a rainbow trail and make cat sounds. Yes, there you go. They've just won the internet right there. Sinks for the furniture. Portal gun. Cultist costume. Honeyfall block and wall. Alchemy table. I believe honey is the new liquid that they've added to the game. Alchemy table. Vine rope. Sticky dynamite. Nail gun. Royal gel. Pink gel. Magic water dropper. Wormhole potion. Flask of frost, frost bullets, laser machine gun, charged laser blaster, granite blocks, marble blocks, planar blocks, sparring dummy, rainbow torch, rainbow campfire, demon campfire, yo-yo, sundial, laser drill, shadow flame hex doll, Martian conduit plating, Martian costume pants, bee's knees, which is a bow dropped by a queen bee that fires 3 homing bees that bounce on walls twice and get destroyed on contact with a third wall. Each bee does around 10 to 70 damage and replaces normal arrows into 3 bees. New dyes, living rainbow, living flame, chlorophyte, gold negative, and 3 new mounts, including a drill mount and a unicorn mount. Obviously, I can't believe they didn't have unicorns already in the game, but apparently they do now. Some new banners, black hole beater, which is a new ranged weapon, and some general things here. New summon items, a new block with a gradual light up function, a 4th liquid, which I believe is honey, a new hook, shield based on the Eye of Cthulhu, new information display accessories that show weather, damage per second, and moon phase, and more. Mine carts. Mine carts are now in the game, and in fact they show a minecart track off in their trailer for it, for the 1.3 thing, where they announce the date that it will be released, and a new trophy. Also, you get new characters. You get a Crimson Bunny, and a Cultist, Crimson Penguin, a Tax Collector NPC, and a Lunar Boss, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you can now go to the moon. If you couldn't go to it before, you can now, apparently. Item character changes, a whole bunch of things. I, of course, will link you guys to this list so you can take a look at it for yourself, and see if this will finally be the thing that drives you to Terraria. I own Terraria. I've owned it since it was released. I just barely ever play it because it just it's just time constraints. It's hard for me to play a lot of these sandbox games anymore because I just trying to find the time to get a bunch of progress done and everything else is very, very difficult. And Terraria, I felt like, you know, as much as I like Starbound, Terraria felt a little bit too grounded, I guess, which is weird to say, right? Because they've got all these freaking ridiculous, you know, swords and all that stuff, but it just felt like it was. It felt like there was no reason to build things. Number one, except to have just a small hut. Even though they had a lot of building supplies in there, and they had like a wiring system, you know, a la redstone thing. And the same thing is true for Starbound too. It never felt like there was a reason to build anything in Starbound. Even less so in Starbound, because you can just take over these beautiful castles that have already been prefabbed for you. But then in Terraria, it felt like that, and then also it just, I can see the appeal of collecting all that stuff. It just, for some reason, never really appealed to me. I don't know why. I can't put my finger on the thing that's like, this is why Terraria. I know that I got frustrated early on with Terraria because I couldn't tell the difference between ores. It was very hard to see what you were doing, and all that stuff has been vastly improved from what I understand. It's just going back to it now. I feel like there's a lot of just boss grinding now. You know, like I've watched Let's Plays of it, and that seems to be the shape of things, right? It's like, all right, now I'll go grind for this resource so that you can summon this boss and then defeat it, and then, you know, it's just it felt like that grindiness was a little bit too much, even though Starbound also is grindy. But and I spent a whole lot of time, trying to mine for stuff in Starbound to build stuff, and I feel like if those games would rebalance themselves to be a little less of a grind, I would probably be more interested in it. That goes also for Starbound. Even though I did some episodes in Starbound, I really haven't felt the need to go back to it yet. I probably will eventually, but yeah, just for right now, I just don't feel the need. I feel like it's a game that is not built for someone who doesn't have a whole lot of hours to kill in it. So not that that's a bad thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the way I look at things now. I'm just like, there's just, I'd have to play this for 6-7 hours just to get to a point where I can get better armor or gear. And it's just, it's sort of, as much as I love those games, it still irks me out when I think about it. I'm like, there's other games I'd rather play right now. So I keep pushing those things back to the back burner, like Minecraft and Terraria and Starbound. They just keep getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back because I'm just like, there's something over here I'd rather play right now, and there's something over here that I can get through real fast that I really want to, sit down and enjoy, and and it doesn't have maybe not a whole lot of grinding in it, and those kinds of things. I sound like an old man yelling at the kids to get off his lawn, but that's the best way I can sort of describe the dichotomy in my head about, yes, I love sandbox games, but I also love free time. And I need to balance the two. So that is Terraria. Talked about that. We talked about Game of Thrones. Also, apparently, I'll link you to a Destructoid article or blurb that just basically says this. But apparently the Steam Summer Sale has been leaked, and it will be coming on June the 11th, in theory, from what the leak says. So get your wallets ready, just in time for E3. The Steam Summer Sale is going to drain your pockets, as it generally does. Although you do get to a point where you have so many games that it just there's no games in the summer sale that you really want to deal with. You know what I mean? Because you got so many as it is in your library, especially with like the humble bundles and stuff. You just get your library just gets packed full of things. Let's see. So some other news here. The sci-fi MMO Wildstar has announced that in this fall, they are going to go free to play from their current subscription model. And it got me thinking about the MMOs and stuff. Like, I've not been a very big MMO guy at all. I've played a few. I played City of Heroes back in the day, and I got tired of the grind that I ended up having because I had all that. You every time you would die, you would incur experience point debt, and at some point I had incurred a full level of experience point debt. You couldn't go more than one level, as far as I remember, but you could incur an entire level's worth, which means basically it's like reducing your level by 1 without removing any of the perks. And I got to that point, and I was like, I can't deal with this anymore. There's too much of a grind. I keep dying, and I can't. I got to a point where it just the game really wanted you to team up with somebody else, and I, being the lone wolf that I am, couldn't deal with it anymore. So I played that, and I played DDO online, Dungeons and Dragons online. That was a lot of fun. I didn't play that until it went free to play. I didn't play that when it was subscription, but I did play it in free to play, and I like how they do their free to play stuff, because it was like, oh yeah, here's the stuff that you can buy, and it's really good stuff when you're in a pinch, like when you've gone through a level and it's like you have almost no health and you've used up all your health potions. hey, lo and behold, you can go buy a health potion for real money. And actually, that I have no problem with that. That actually seems like a very good way of handling it without giving anybody an unfair advantage in PvP or other things. So I played a little bit of that, and I've played a bit of Star Trek Online until I got tired of just throwing myself at the enemy and dying constantly. And I got as far as the Romulan campaign, I think, and I just got bored of it. As much as I like Star Trek, it was just at that point where I sort of saw and knew everything that was happening, and I was, ground combat wasn't really that great, and I felt like I had gotten a good amount of enjoyment out of it, and I still have it. I still have my character and all that stuff. I just haven't been in it in a while. It's something that every so often, when you're feeling like it, you just go back to it and play for a half an hour or whatever. And I guess also, along the same lines with the Star Trek stuff, Star Trek Online is probably the closest I've gotten to playing something that's WoW. Like, I've never played WoW. I've never subscribed to it. I don't really have any desire to ever subscribe to it. But I've seen the videos of it from time to time, and it just looks like it's that same, here's your power bar thing down the bottom, and hit 1 to do this, and hit 2 to do this, and manage your powers and manage your cooldowns and all this stuff. It just, WoW established all that stuff and dominates, I think, because of that stuff. But then all the other MMOs are like, oh, let me be like that, let me do that, I'll do that same thing. And Star Trek Online, it's like a Me Too in that regard, where it's like, here's your power wheel, and here's this stuff, and you got it. It's just like, there was a better way to do that. I feel like there's if you have that mechanic, you're probably not going to do so well as an MMO, because people are going to invariably look at it and go, that is WoW. Do I want more WoW? Maybe not. It depends on your perspective. Me personally, I have no reason to play WoW. I have no desire to play WoW. So when I see other MMOs come out that are like WoW-like in that structure, I'm like, no thanks. And Wildstar was very much like that. Even though it's sci-fi and it was on my radar for a little while, I started watching videos of it and realized it's the same old grind. It's the same old thing. It's just World of Warcraft, pretty much. Now, that said, when I was looking at it, it was still early alpha. The videos I looked at were still alpha. It has changed significantly over the years, I'm sure, especially with going free to play and getting away from the subscription model. So it might be completely different. The UI might be different, and the way you do things might be different now. I don't know. But the fact that it's going free to play, I might dip my toe in the water there. I'm kind of thinking no. I'm kind of shying away from it and going, nah, probably not. It's probably nothing that I really want to do in that game. But that said, at the very least, I'll probably watch a video that somebody else does and see what it looks like, and then make a judgment call from that. But yeah, so my MMO stuff does not go very extensively, mostly because, as I said, I'm more of a lone wolf guy, and MMOs, even though they're fun to be around other people, it's not fun when an MMO is like, you must, to get this story, you must have a group, or you must be completely, totally badass, and you're not. And I tend to experience those MMOs because they're MMO RPGs, right? And I experience RPGs for the story. And when the game mechanics get in the way of that by saying, you must team up with this because this is a multiplayer game, that's when I start to get a little bit tired of it, and that's when I put the controller down and I go, nope, no more. Or put the keyboard mouse down and say, nope, no more. So all that said, getting me thinking about the MMO stuff, I mentioned the City of Heroes stuff. I've had these two things on my list for a very long time here as a topic to talk about. I've had them since November, actually. But they're still there. They're still kicking, alive and kicking as far as I know. But there's two spiritual successors to City of Heroes that I've seen crop up and have been around for a while, actually. Since we know that nobody can play City of Heroes anymore because the servers, NCSoft is, the servers are no longer available. They're completely shut down. They've been repurposed for something else. And in the process of doing that, canceling City of Heroes and all that stuff, and City of Villains, and just basically throwing everything into mothballs, the community decided, hey, you know what? We really enjoyed these games. Let's go and try to build our own that are very similar. And the two that I've picked out here, one is called Valiance Online, and the other one's called City of Titans. And I'll leave you links to their general sites for this. City of Titans hasn't had an update in a while. I mean, they had a news update very recently, but it said there's no additional news, basically. Valiance Online has had some updates this month of May, and they seem to be going along fairly nicely from what I can tell. In fact, I think Valiance Online has a pre-alpha demo, or an alpha 9 demo out, I think, for people to be able to participate. An open alpha, I think, is basically what I'm trying to get at there. I think they have an open alpha going on. I haven't dug into either one of these, so I don't know which one is better than the other one, or how far along they are or not. I see a bunch of screenshots for Valiance Online that remind me entirely of City of Heroes, but I have no other information about what is. My apologies again. I, for some reason, am just in a yawning phase here. It's not very good. I think it's because it's rather warm in the room right now, because I closed the windows so that because it's very late at night. It's just past midnight here, and I don't want to be that guy that's talking into a mic in front of an open window while people are trying to sleep and stuff. So I don't want to be that guy that's making a scene. Plus, I don't want to, I don't want eavesdroppers either. So it's a bit warm in the room right now, and I think that's generating a bunch of yawning. Anyway, I'm not really tired per se. I'm just yawning like crazy here. But anyway, yeah, that's City Valiance Online and City of Titans. I think the very least I can point you there and say maybe you want to keep a look at these, if these are if you're a big City of Heroes fan, City of Villains, City of Heroes fans in day. Like I said, I put them on this list just so that I would remember to pop in every so often and see what they're doing. Because being a big fan of it as I want to see if they've changed the way things have happened, or if they're going for the classic City of Heroes, which if they're going for the classic, that won't be my I won't have anything to do with it because of that damn experience point debt stuff. But if they make some additional modernization changes to it, that would be kind of cool to take a look at, because it's been a while since I've really dug into any kind of MMO. I've been looking at I have an MMO called the Repopulation installed on my machine. I still have not sat down and took a look at that yet. That's supposedly going to be very similar. It's sci-fi, and it's supposedly going to be very similar to Star Wars Galaxies back before they made the big Jedi update, where they sort of nerfed getting Jedi status and all that stuff. So it's sort of the classic mode. From what I understand, at least that was their inspiration to do it. That said, it's completely different in every other respect, other than being an MMO. So I want to dig into that at some point. I haven't done it yet, but it's been something that I want to look at. It's just I've filled my schedule so much with a lot of different videos here that it's hard for me to sit down and actually look at other videos or look at other games outside of the normal recording schedule that I have. But I'm starting to sneak things in here and there with side quest videos and stuff. I'm trying to record as many of those as I can whenever I can. So that's where I stand with that. And yeah, that's something I thought about while I was thinking about the MMO stuff and where we're at with it, and why I have sort of very cold disposition mostly when it comes to MMOs. But every so often I will indulge. Yeah, that's all I really had to say about that. I'll link you to a Eurogamer article that's talking about the Wildstar MMO going free to play this fall, and what changes and whatnot are going on there. And that really, I mean, other than, there's one other piece of news. Well, there's two other pieces of news, but one other from a major source here. And I'll link you to the Polygon article talking about this, but Halo ODST, Orbital Drop Shock Troopers, I believe is what that stands for, is now available for the Master Chief Collection if you are eligible for the free update. I don't know. I saw something that said that it's not available for purchase yet for those of us who are not able to or not don't qualify for the free update. I think the qualifications for it was that you had to at least play the game at least once between November and December of last year. And then because it was sort of a mea culpa where they're releasing ODST for free to those people because of all the matchmaking problems that were going on. I unfortunately did not install it until after the December timeline, so I don't qualify for this as far as I know. But I'm waiting to see. It's going to be, I think, $5 US when it comes out. And honestly, of all the Halo games, ODST was my favorite one. So I will be picking that up as soon as I can. I don't know if it's available now to be purchased or not, because it was kind of a like. I read the article and a couple different news organizations picked up this information, and I read all their stuff, and one or two of them was like unsure of when it was coming out, and others were unsure of what the price was going to be, and still others were unsure of whether they were both being released at the same time or not, so on and so forth. But as I said, I myself, as soon as I can do it, I will be picking up Halo ODST. It is only, the remastered version of it is only the campaign. There's no multiplayer, I don't think. None of the maps have been done for multiplayer, and there's no multiplayer, co-op or otherwise, for ODST. It's just, literally, they just ported the main campaign, which is fine. I enjoyed the main campaign tremendously, so I would like to pick that up and possibly play that. I know that I've had on my list to go back and play the Master Chief Collection, from the beginning, because I've never played Halo 1 or 2. I've played bits and pieces of Halo 1 over my brother's house. Never played Halo 2. I played all of Halo 3, and the first half an hour to an hour of Halo 4, and then sort of put it down. So I am interested in revisiting all that Halo stuff at some point. Still am. Particularly the ODST stuff. I really, if nothing else, I really do want to at least play through the campaign of ODST again, because that was a lot of fun. I really liked the way they did the campaign in that. I remember liking that a lot. So, if nothing else, mayhaps there will be Halo ODST somewhere related to me at some point in the future. Whether it's a YouTube video or just a live stream, probably more than likely just a live stream. But it'll be like an off-kilter live stream, right? Because I already have my Fridays set up for Kerbal Space Program, which I'm still. This last Friday was Space Plane Madness, namely Space Plane Flippy Flip. Always flip, never not flip. So it's probably good if you didn't watch that, because it's pretty painful to watch. I will eventually put a highlight up there of the entire stream onto Twitch, just in case anybody is morbidly curious as to how bad I can be at a game. But there you go with that. And then that was basically all of the quote-unquote news that I could pick out from this week in general. But fear not, for I have other topics here that I have picked out for myself that I'd like to talk about. A couple games that I've been poking my head into from time to time, just to see what they're how they're doing and what progress they're doing. One of the ones that caught my eye is called Hearts of Oak: Conquest of the Seas. I'll link you to their IndieDB page, because that's pretty much the only page they have out there for it. It's got all the information you would need on the game anyway. But it's as you might imagine, it's a seafaring game where it's seeking to be like a seafaring piratey simulation game, where you go out and it tries to simulate what it was like during the Age of Sail, going around and doing various things. And from the screenshots that I'm seeing and everything else, it's looking like it's coming out pretty nicely. I've been keeping an eye on it because I've been wanting a sailing ship thing, some kind of ship-based thing for a while. I played a little bit of Wind. What was it? Windward. Yeah, that's what it is. Which I still want to go back to and play even more of. But it's just I was really enjoying that, because it's been a long time since I've had like a ship game that I really wanted to play. I think the last one that I played a whole lot of was Secret. What was it? It wasn't Silent Service. Maybe it was. No, it was something else. It was a PC-based game. I played Silent Service on the NES, and that was fun. But there was one for the PC. I'm trying to think. Seawolf. Is that what the name of it was? I think it was just Seawolf was the name of it. That was an old Windows 95 game, I think, DOS game, that I still have somewhere around here. And I think that's the last like ship-based game that I've ever played, and that was a submarine game. So I've been looking for a while for something that was ship-based, and found, just on a whim, found Windward, and that's a lot of fun. And then before Windward, what I stumbled upon was this Hearts of Oak, Conquest of the Seas thing. So I've been trying to look at it and just get updates on it as I can, just keep up to date with it. I'm trying to see what it's going to shape up to be. The interesting thing about this is it is very much a labor of love. It is not going to be commercial. They even say it in their description that it's a non-commercial release. They're going to just release it for free, and you just do whatever you can with it. And so that's very cool. There's other ones like that this has to do with Star Trek. I think Star Trek Excalibur is another one that comes to mind, that is just doing it for free, just for the love of doing it. They're trying to make a sort of Bridge Commander-esque Star Trek experience. So, and then Hearts of Oak is trying to do this, is trying to simulate what life was like during the Age of Sail and sailing ships and managing your ships and so on and so forth. So if that's interesting to you, then there you go. There's a link to take a look at. Also, we're going to get into some modding here for a minute. Space Engineers the Keen Software House, the developers of Space Engineers and Medieval Engineers, released their engine code their engine and their code for Space Engineers. I was perusing the GitHub repository for it. I'll link you to the GitHub for it. I was perusing that a little bit earlier. It's all, unfortunately, C# stuff, which I don't entirely know the C# language, so I can't do much with it. That said, I know Java, and C# is surprisingly similar to Java. It's just all the packages are different, and there's some different syntactic sugar along the way too. But I was looking at it. I've been debating whether I want to fork off the GitHub project and rewrite it in Java just to troll the internet, because that would be pretty funny. But more for my own benefit of, it's been forever and a day since I've written anything as far as DirectX or graphics go, like DirectX or OpenGL, and I'm kind of curious as to whether or not I could grab their source code, convert it over to Java, use a JNDI connection over, use Joggle or something like that to do OpenGL, which just does a Java native interface overlay for DLL, which is why I always laugh when people are like, oh, Minecraft is so slow because it's in Java. It's like, no, you really don't understand what you're talking about, because all that graphics code is actually just passing through to a DLL under the covers, and that's all compiled and all that stuff. What makes it slow is just the developers suck. I mean that gently. It's the old adage that programmers say is it's usually not the language, it's the programmer. And unfortunately, the guys at Mojang inherited an engine that wasn't really that great from Notch. So they've been trying desperately to fix all the things, and they've got it a lot better than it was. Let's put it that way. But there's only so much turd polishing you can do before you have to do a rewrite. And to be honest, one of the strongest points of Java is threading. Threads are one of those things that everybody can sort of agree with, and Java does pretty well. So the fact that they did not do threading from the very beginning tells you the quality of the code right there when you're picking Java. So, anywho, all my bashing aside, Space Engineers source code is out there, and hopefully people will be contributing it to it in the community. They say they've released it just so that modders could have a better crack at making APIs for it. The thing about it is that they did not release any of their assets or any of the Steam related stuff. So the nice thing about that is, even though you can take all that code, especially for their VRage engine and all that stuff, you're not actually infringing on the stuff that's all the assets and stuff for Space Engineers and whatnot. You still need to have bought a copy of Space Engineers in order to use any code that you've brought down from that and you've modified. You still have to own a copy in order to have access to all the assets and stuff that are out in Steam. So that come down from Steam, I should say. So that's cool. I like the way they did that, and maybe someday I will dig into it and see if I can make lemonade along the way, my own brand of milkshake, if you will. In addition to that, I've run across, so I've been tracking to the best of my ability a mod called Deus Ex Revision, which is a total conversion, really an upgrade of the original Deus Ex game. It installs a bunch of mods to improve the graphics. It also improves all the, it's got its own sound, its own music, and various other improvements to make it HD and so on and so forth. I've been keeping an eye on it from time to time, and it looks like they are now very, very close to release. They say the last post that they put up, they said that they're just doing the very final preparations on doing whatever marketing push they're going to do for it. So can't wait to get my hands on that and see what they've done with the game. As I've said in the past, they did say that one of the mods they installs all new music, which the music was really good before, but they say they've kept the original music in there in case you want to switch back to it. So we'll see. I'm going to see what the new music is like and see if it's just as good or better. Hopefully it is. But then, also I have the option of turning back to the other one. So that's kind of cool. My original plan for that was to actually run through Deus Ex, as a series on YouTube. Given that I have so many other shooters going on and stuff, I don't know when that would ever materialize right now. But it is something that I want to do at some point. At the very least, I'd like to do a side quest video on it. I would like to do a full series on it at some point too, but maybe that'll be maybe that'll come at a later date after I've cleared up my recording schedule a bit of things. And another mod that I ran across just out of the blue. There's apparently a mod, a team that is writing mods for Transistor, a game that I played many, many moons ago. The entire series is up on my YouTube channel. Just look for it, Transistor. Very much enjoyed that game. I loved it. It's a turn-based sci-fi tactical turn-based. Well, I should say it's a combination of real-time combat that then becomes turn-based when you want it to be. And it's sci-fi world that's being overrun by computers, a computer virus, strong implications that everybody in the game is just computer avatars, so on and so forth. And it's by the people that gave us Bastion, the same group that did that. So I had a lot of fun with it, and the fact that there's some mods being written for it is very cool. I might want to take a look at some of these, at least, dig into it for, a little bit here. The mods that I've seen right now, there's two of them by the same people. Transition and Hyperthread are the mods. And Transition, I believe, is going to be the overarching full mod, the overarching package of mods. And Hyperthread is just one individual mod that they've been working on. First, and basically it makes it puts, instead of having, during the game, instead of having to always drop into turn-based mode to do a lot of things, it actually tries to increase the pace of the game by giving you access to a lot of your special abilities right on the main screen, and also reducing severely the cooldown on them, and making giving you a little bit extra health, and basically making it so that you're just going at hyperspeed through the game at the enemies, or making the combat far more action packed and far less casual, as it were. And it looks pretty cool. You do have to have limiters on, it says, in order for stuff to work, and they really recommend that you've played through the entire vanilla game so that you're in New Game Plus mode when you're doing it. But I'm kind of curious. I'm curious enough that I want to download Hyperthread and see, once I have about a few hours to download it, because it's coming from ModDB, and ModDB is ModDB takes a long time to download even the smallest of things on ModDB for me. Yeah, a little mod there for Transistor, and it sounds like they're going to continue doing additional mods for Transistor. So I'll link you to the ModDB article, ModDB, site that you can take a look at and keep up to date with what they're doing, what the community is doing as far as mods with Transistor goes. But that's cool. That's something else that just kind of popped onto my radar as I was looking for mods and various other things as I was reading up on Deus Ex Revision mod, it's like, hey, you might like this. I was like, oh, okay. I'll go take a look at that. Various other things on ModDB there. But as you can probably guess, we are winding down here. We're reaching the end of the episode. And this is where I say thanks so much, everybody, for watching. Hope you all have a good week coming up. And I will see you all, as usual, next Sunday.